It was Gill and Dreer Machine Shop that started building these swabbing rigs on West Smith Road. Then later, we don't know when, maybe late 30s, my dad went to work for Gill and Dreer and then later bought the business and changed it to Medina Machine Company. And then in the mid 80s, we changed it to Tiger General to have more of a marketing advantage for our products. So that's how it started. I went to work for my dad said, "Why don't you come to work for me?" And I said, "Dad, I don't know anything." He said, "Well, I'll teach you." And he did. My dad taught me welding, machining, taught me clean designs. I went to Akron U, but I only went there for a little bit, and they said, "Well, you can't go and you won't get a degree." I said, "I don't want a degree. I just want to learn something." So I took English and law and some government courses and didn't really care whether I got a grade or not. I just wanted to learn something. But my dad was the best teacher as far as engineering, life. I remember when I graduated from high school, I was a pretty cocky kid. He said, "You think you're pretty smart now, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, I sure am." He said, "Well, from now on you get dumber." It took me 10 years to figure out what all that meant. Well, my dad had a lot of friends. Sam Macy was a teacher, and Doc Mansell was a doctor, and my dad was even on council. My grandfather, Sam Overholt, was a county commissioner in the 30s. My dad had the machine shop on West Smith Road, and there was no back door because he said when he was running on city council, all the other people on council had a back door to run out of if somebody came in and was complaining to him, and he didn't. He had to sit there and listen. So he didn't stay on council too long. My dad went to work for Ed Dybel in the gravel plant, and they made their own gravel plant where they had to learn to weld and do whatever. I remember my dad was partners, I think, with Ed Dybel. And during the Depression, they had all this gravel, and they thought, what are we going to do? Well, apparently they were rebuilding Route 18, so they ended up selling the gravel and survived. And then he went to work for Romy Dreer at Gill and Dreer Machine and ended up buying the business. And I don't know when. I tried to find it, maybe early 40s or late 40s. And then he changed the name to Medina Machine Company. And I'm very lucky to get the education I did, learning not to over-engineer, not to under-engineer something. Don't have sharp edges on the steel, grind it, make sure there's round corners, clean welds. My dad had a Navy welder working for him, and there was only 2 ships in the Navy that were repair ships, and this guy was just an excellent welder, and he taught me how to weld. Except he's yelling at me and calling me names all the time. "You dumb, stupid SOB, blah, 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 blah. You're so stupid you'll never learn." And, of course, I wanted to rise up against all that. And, again, I think it was a good thing, keeping me in line. But I learned a lot. I really believe it's my dad's teaching and my race car experience, drag racing, really, I think taught me a lot. We built our own cars. We had to make our own parts and pieces. And everything had to be just enough to do the job but not break. So one of the reasons we were winners all the time, we didn't break. We were fortunate, 2 years undefeated in drag racing, two-time national champion. We met a lot of guys that were winners too, and just being in that group of people that wanted to be winners and never stopped taught me a lot about building our equipment. It's not over-engineered, it's not under-engineered. Our machines are considered the best in the world, and we have them running in, well, we got 3 of them in Punta Arenas, Chile, at the bottom of the world. Mexico, Peru, Canada, and all over the United States. We're trying to get them in Mid-East yet. That's a work in progress. But I think it's nice that people tell us that our machines are the best in the world. Ours are direct drive hydraulic on the winch, where others are chain and sprockets or 1920 designs with diesel engines added. And I guess I'm proud of that we do have the best. A lot of our machines are still running that we built in the 50s and 60s. I remember in the energy crisis in the 70s, our machines back then were considered the best. And then after the energy crisis, all of a sudden our machines were breaking. Why are they breaking? So I went around and asked a lot, and I found out that, well, before they never worked them very hard. And then when the energy crisis happened, there was more demand for gas and oil, so people were working out of them very all the time. So then we designed a new winch. It was a mechanical winch at that time that was much heavier. And then I saw what was going on in hydraulics, moving hydraulics and construction equipment, and I thought, wait a minute, we'll have far less parts and pieces. If we go to hydraulic and direct drive, then we don't have to have all these pieces. We should be able to get them out quicker, blah, 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 blah. But then that was trouble because it couldn't sell any. Everybody said, well, my dad did it this way. We aren't doing it that way with the hydraulics. So I wanted to make sure I knew what was needed. So I went around and asked people, well, how much do you pull? And I got answers like, well, the truck was backed up against a railroad tie and I pulled so much that the truck jumped over the railroad tie. Well, that was real descriptive. So then I started looking into line pull and how much, what size cable, how much would that stand? And then I designed a machine that would do that with a margin of safety. And we ended up saying, hey, if it doesn't do what I say it'll do, I'll buy it back. So fortunately, we never had to buy anything back. And we got started and built a few more. But we always had to have a machine shop and extra work because the oil and gas business would come and go. So then we started selling trucks. In the 60s, my dad and I invented a tandem truck suspension that was acted like independent suspension and equalized the weight on all 4 corners of a tandem suspension. So we looked around, we thought, let's find a small manufacturer, and we found Marmon Trucks in Garland, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. So I went down and visited them, trying to sell them truck suspensions, and I was a piss poor salesman because I came back with a Marmon franchise and told Dad, the hell with the suspensions, we're going to sell trucks. So we started selling trucks. Then in '78, the international franchise became available, and after a lot of work, we finally got it bought. And then at the time, I remember asking all the soothsayers or the bankers and all the supposedly movers and shakers, gee, should I do this and should I buy this building? Yeah, buy it, Mark. I mean, it's going to be worth twice that in no time. So I bought it in '78, and then the next year went into the longest strike in history. And then we had a lot of deflation. We somehow survived all that, and we're an international dealer through the mid '90s. And then the oil field business was much better, making more money. Made a lot of money on our rigs and not so much on trucks, so we gave up our international franchise and went into full-time manufacturing of swabbing rigs and winch trucks and vacuum trucks, and they're selling dump trucks. What was nice was if somebody came to us wanted to buy a truck, we'd say, do you need a body for it? Or if somebody came to us looking for a dump body, we'd say, do you need a truck? So we were able to get both ends of the deal, and that's where we are today. Now, when we were we had a lot of demand for rigs, and there was too many pieces, so I wanted less parts and pieces, and I looked into hydraulics, and at that time high pressure hydraulics were coming around, piston hydraulics, and I learned how much power or speed I could get with hydraulics over conventional diesel engine and chain and sprocket drive. As I mentioned to you before, a big truck going down the road today with 600 horse, that engine puts out about 2,000 foot-pounds of torque, and our direct drive hydraulic motor puts out 17,000 foot-pounds of torque. Just almost unbelievable. And in the oil and gas industry, you always need more than what you think you need because of downhole issues or other disasters. So you need a lot more power. I wanted to make sure from my race car days, I wanted enough power to get the job done and with a margin of safety, and we got it with hydraulics. So that's a little bit about it. Essentially, we're winding and unwinding cable in a well. When a well is drilled, they drill the well, they drill down in through the formation, and of course it's piped top to bottom, and then they cement it all the way up. And when they're in the formation, which are horizontal, they lower a tool down into the well and blow holes in the pipe, maybe 50 holes in 300 feet, and that allows them to go in and frack the well. What they do then with high pressure piston pumps, they pump a whole lot of water and sand, what they call frac sand, down the well, push it out through the hole, and the idea is with enough pressure, it used to be you get out 30, 40 feet into the formation and create a crack or crevice, and the sand props up that crack to where the oil and gas can flow into the low pressure zone of the pipe. So when they then kick off the well is filled clear to the top with water. They have to bring a swabbing rig in to lift off columns of water, and they might take 6 barrels at a whack and go in and take several runs, maybe all day long, depending on how deep the well is. And then as they get closer to the pay zone, they take little bites, because all of a sudden the downhole pressure will push you out of the well, so you've got to wind the cable up real fast, get out of the well, and the well kicks off. At that time, about 40% of the water comes back. And as a well produces, the downhole pressure drops, and then the water is coming back too. When there's plenty of pressure, the water and oil and gas comes out together, and the water is separated at the top. After a while, the downhole pressure drops, water gets above the formation, production falls off. So you need a swabbing rig, and we build the best. So they go in and swab the well produces again, Some wells need swab once a month, some every couple of years, but everybody needs a swabbing rig. And that's it for the moment. We just happened to start here. Ohio Fuel Gas, which is Columbia Gas now, was a start, and they had a lot of gas wells in this area, so we built swabbing rigs for Ohio Fuel Gas and then East Ohio Gas later on. Then I thought, wait a minute, we need to expand our market. So I went to Texas and looked. Around here, the wells are 3,000 to 6,000 feet deep. Texas, they're 14,000 feet deep. So that we needed a lot bigger machine to break into that market. We had a good reputation. We built our first 16,000 foot machine in '99, and actually that one went to Oklahoma, and then the next ones went to Texas, and we went on from there. And again, Texas is our biggest market. Today, our machine will hold 16,000 feet of 9/16 cable. Most everybody else's only holds 14,000 feet. Our performance is superior to anybody's, and it's fun. I tell people in the shop, we want to use race car mentality. In other words, find a way to get the job done efficiently without rushing. And a lot of people yell at me, this isn't a race car shop and you're pushing us and trying to get us to work too hard. No, 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 I want to do it right. Let's don't rush it. And our machines are considered the best in the world, and I'm damn proud of that. And it's race car legacy, really. Our machines live. Our machines require half the maintenance of anybody else. I want to make sure we build the best. I want to make sure it lasts the longest. And I think in our industry, if you build something cheap, and some competitors do, it just doesn't hold up. There's lots of unknowns that will tax the machine or overwork it. For instance, we build winch bed trucks, and they're lifting. They have a roller on the back and various oil field equipment, compressors and things like this, and sand pumps around the well site. Our winch trucks lift these up and move them, lift the 50, 80, 100,000 pound loads up on a winch and take it to the next site. Frequently the front end of the truck is clear up in the air picking up something, and as it moves up on the truck it lowers down. So again, people are going to overwork your equipment. So with experience you learn how to build something that'll last. Some of our 80s rigs, when we get them in for repair, I think, geez, we built that? And but we've evolved. It's not just Mark Overholt, it's everybody's ideas. If somebody has a better idea, hey, let's make it standard on our machine. I don't care if it's our guys in the shop or a customer with an idea. If I like it and understand it, then we make it standard on our machine. So that is another factor that's helped us become number one. We don't build it the same way we did 50 years ago. We're trying to advance and keep up. In the year 2000, around 2000, I had a Texas customer saying, or I noticed that they had to have the company geologist stand there and watch the operator run the rig so they could make sure they knew what was going on with the well downhole by how much water came out. So I thought, well, wait a minute, let's create something that we don't need this. At that time, in the early 80s, $100,000 guy standing around watching a swab rig operator. So we come up with a concept of tiger vision to tell where you are, what depth in the well you are, how much load you're pulling, how fast you're coming out of the well. And we wanted to separate ourselves from the crowd, so that was part of it. Nobody else had that. And we were able to get a couple of patents on that and patents on the hydraulics. I think it's nice that people tell us that our machines are the best in the world.
Hi, I'm Dennis Hanwell, the mayor for the city of Medina. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Making It in Medina. Making it in Medina is important to me as the mayor, to my administration, and to our city council. A strong industrial base, employing a great number of people, our great commercial and historic downtown, as well as the eateries and the businesses that draw in people from all around the region, helps keep the taxes lower for our residents. But making it in Medina is really broader than that. It's also about the importance of making the city appealing and safe and a great place for families, for senior citizens, for young children. And we do that with a great school system. We do that with great health care. We do it with collaboration between different agencies and working together to make Medina the best place it can be. And making it in Medina is something that we strive for day in and day out, and we hope you will join us for future episodes and examples of making it in Medina.